All right, so imagine this. Siberia, 1908. You're in the middle of nowhere, right? Like practically on the moon.
Truly remote.
And then, bam, this QGE explosion.
Massive.
We're talking 80 million trees just flattened instantly.
Gone. Just like that.
Like an area bigger than some countries just wiped off the map.
It's hard to grasp the scale.
But here's the thing. No one, and I mean no one, seems to have been like directly killed by the blast itself.
It's one of the biggest mysteries.
So how do you have that much destruction, but no human casualties? That's what we're diving into today, the Tunguska Event.
Named for the Tunguska River nearby.
We've got eyewitness accounts, scientific reports, all that good stuff to try and figure this thing out.
It's a real puzzle. And the fact that it happened in such a remote place at a time when, well, documenting something like this was incredibly difficult.
Siberia in 1908 wasn't exactly a scientific hotspot.
Right. It wasn't like someone was there with a camera crew ready to film the whole thing.
Okay, but even though it happened in the middle of nowhere, Tunguska had these global repercussions. People felt the shock waves thousands of miles away.
No.
There were weird lights in the sky seen all over Europe, and for months, the sunsets were just off.
All over the world, really.
It's like the whole planet felt it somehow.
The scale of the event is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And those eyewitness accounts,
Yeah.
they're crucial, even though they're all over the place.
Yeah, talk about a mixed bag. Some people saw this bright light, others saw like a fiery thing streaking across the sky, and then boom!
The details are fuzzy, to say the least.
It makes it hard to separate what really happened from what people, thought they saw or interpreted based on their own beliefs.
Absolutely. And then you add in the fact that the first real scientific expedition to the site didn't even get there until almost 20 years later.
Oh, wow. So it was a true cold case from the start.
Yeah, and you can imagine trying to investigate an area that massive with the technology they had back then. It was an incredible challenge.
So what did they find? Any clues to help explain this crazy explosion?
One of the first things they noticed was how the trees had fallen. They were knocked down in this radial pattern, all pointing away from a central point.
So that suggests something exploding high in the air, right? Not something that hit the ground directly.
That's the leading theory, yeah. They also found traces of iridium in the soil.
Iridium. And why is that important?
Because iridium is way more common in meteorites than it is here on Earth.
Ah, so finding it at the blast site is like finding a fingerprint, but like a cosmic fingerprint.
Exactly. It points to something from space being involved.
So that brings us to the most popular theory, right? The meteor or comet airburst. Explain it to me like I'm back in high school science class.
Okay, picture this. A chunk of rock, maybe ice, maybe both, hurtling through space at super speed. It enters the Earth's atmosphere, and as soon as it does, bam, friction with the air heats it up.
So like a giant space rock skipping across the atmosphere.
In a way, yeah. But this stone is moving at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour.
Oh, wow.
The friction creates this crazy amount of heat, so it starts to glow really brightly.
Okay, so that could be the bright light people saw.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
And the heat and pressure build up, and eventually the object just can't take it anymore. It explodes high above the ground and releases this massive amount of energy.
Okay, that explains the lack of a crater and the whole blast pattern. But what about those global effects? The shock waves, the weird sunsets, all of that.
So that explosion would create these intense shock waves that traveled through the atmosphere way beyond Siberia. And all the dust and debris it threw into the air, that stuff would have stayed in the upper atmosphere for months.
And that messed with the sunsets.
Yeah, it scattered sunlight and caused those unusual sunsets people observed around the world.
Okay, so case closed. Meteor, end of story.
Well, not so fast. The meteor airburst theory fits a lot of the evidence, but it doesn't explain everything.
Uh-oh, there's always a but.
And when there's a mystery, there are always alternative theories.
Okay, spill it. What else is out there?
Well, some scientists have proposed something way more exotic. A mini black hole passing through the Earth.
Whoa, hold on. A black hole? Like those things that suck up everything? Even light? In Siberia?
Not exactly the kind that gobbles up stars, no.
Yeah.
This is a theoretical type called a primordial black hole. Super tiny, incredibly dense.
Tiny but mighty, huh?
Potentially, yeah. The idea is that this primordial black hole just zipping through space could have passed right through the Earth.
Straight through.
And as it came out the other side, somewhere near Tunguska, its massive gravity would cause a huge disruption.
Resulting in the explosion. All right, I gotta admit, that's pretty wild. But is there any, real evidence for this black hole idea?
More circumstantial than concrete, to be honest. There's no direct proof.
Yeah.
And it relies a lot on theoretical physics, a lot of what-ifs.
So maybe file that one under intriguing, but
Unlikely.
yeah. Anything else competing for the top spot?
Well, there are always the fringe theories, you
Yeah.
know. Some folks point to a secret weapons test, maybe an early attempt at something like a nuclear bomb.
Oh, interesting.
There's a new technology back then just starting to be explored. And then, of course, you have the extraterrestrial theories.
Aliens. Come on.
Hey, what's a good mystery without a little alien intrigue?
Hey.
But seriously, just because someone comes up with a theory doesn't mean it's, the right answer.
So we've got the meteor explanation, which seems like the front runner based on what we know.
Yeah, the evidence seems to point that way.
And then we have a whole bunch of other ideas that are a bit more out there.
A bit more speculative, yeah.
But whatever caused it, there's no denying the impact the Tunguska event had.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think we need to talk more about that because it's more than just flattened trees.
Right. Right. We're talking about the environmental effects, the cultural impact, the human side of this whole thing. 80 million trees wiped out. That's a massive environmental catastrophe.
Yeah, no matter how you look at it.
And the impact on the people who lived in the region. Their way of life, their stories. That's another whole dimension to this.
It wasn't just a scientific event, it was a human one too.
Exactly. And that's what makes the Tunguska event so fascinating, even after all this time. It's this story about science, about humanity, and our relationship with this vast, often unpredictable universe we live in.
It's like we're putting together this puzzle, and some of the pieces are like scientific data.
Right.
And some are these bits and pieces of people's stories.
Those personal accounts, they add a whole other layer. The eyewitness accounts from the people who were actually there, who lived through Tunguska.
Yeah.
They give us a different perspective.
Because it's one thing to look at, like, tree rings and soil samples and all that.
Sure.
But it's a whole other thing to hear someone describe the sky getting so bright they could read a newspaper in the middle of the night.
Exactly. It brings the science to life.
It reminds us that this wasn't just some abstract event. These were real people.
Real people whose lives were turned upside down.
And it makes you wonder, what happened to those people? I mean, we know no one was, like, officially confirmed dead from the blast itself.
Right.
But the impact on the communities living there had to be huge.
Absolutely. The Tunguska event had a massive impact on the indigenous communities in the region, especially the Eventiki people.
Weren't they reindeer herders?
Yeah. Traditionally, their whole way of life was tied to the land. And then, suddenly, that land was devastated. Millions of trees just gone. Fires everywhere.
It's hard to imagine.
It must have been absolutely terrifying. To depend on the forest for your survival, for your food, your shelter, and then have it vanish like that.
It makes you realize that even without direct casualties, an event like this can have these long-lasting consequences for people's lives, their cultures.
It changes everything. And for generations. The Tunguska event became part of the Eventiki folklore, Their stories, their understanding of the world.
So it wasn't just a scientific event, it was a cultural turning point.
Exactly. And that cultural impact, it goes way beyond just the Eventiki people. The Tunguska event captured the imagination of people all over the world.
I mean, you see Tunguska mentioned everywhere. Sci-fi books, movies, documentaries. I've even seen it on some conspiracy theory websites.
It's become a symbol of the unexplained.
It's a real-world event that sparked all this creativity.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of creative minds, we have to talk about the scientists who are still investigating Tunguska today.
After all these years, they're still at it.
It's a testament to how mysterious it still is. Even with all our technology today, we're still trying to piece it all together.
So what are they doing now? What kind of research is going on?
Well, one of the biggest changes is our ability to study the site remotely, using satellites and all these advanced imaging techniques.
So it's like a bird's eye view of a cosmic crime scene, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. We can see the blast zone, the patterns of destruction, the whole scale of the event in a way that they couldn't before.
Amazing.
And we can analyze the soil and the trees in way more detail.
Looking for clues.
Yeah, looking for tiny particles that might have come from whatever caused the explosion.
So maybe there's still a chance we'll find that missing piece of the puzzle, Something that definitely points to a meteor, a black hole, or something totally new.
There's always a chance. And that's what keeps scientists going.
It's exciting to think about.
Every new piece of data, every new analysis,
Yeah.
it could bring us closer to solving the mystery.
And even if we don't find that, like smoking gun.
Right.
Just think of all the things we've learned along the way. about meteors, black holes, the Earth's atmosphere, all because we're trying to understand Tunguska.
Absolutely. It's pushed the boundaries of science. It's made us ask new questions, develop new ways to investigate.
Tunguska has had a ripple effect.
Oh, yeah.
And it reminds us that sometimes the most amazing discoveries come from trying to figure out the things that just don't make sense.
The mysteries that really stump us.
Yeah. But, we've talked a lot about the science side of Tunguska, but I think it's important to remember the human side of it, too. It wasn't just a scientific event. It was a human experience, people dealing with the unknown. We've talked about the impact on the Evenki people, their stories.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture? What can we learn from Tunguska about, our own relationship with the universe, with the forces that shape our lives?
That's a great question. I think Tunguska shows us how small we are, in a way. Yeah. It reminds us that even now, with all our technology and knowledge, we're still vulnerable.
Vulnerable to
these forces of nature, to events that can change the world in an instant.
Oh, that's a pretty humbling thought.
It is.
Yeah.
But it also shows us how resilient we are.
Resilience.
Yeah. Life went on after Tunguska. The forests grew back. The ecosystems recovered. People kept exploring, investigating, trying to make sense of what happened.
It's a pretty amazing testament to the human spirit.
It is. It's like a wake-up call from the universe,
Yeah.
Reminding us that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves.
And that we should be ready for anything.
Exactly. And maybe, more importantly, it encourages us to keep asking questions, keep looking for answers, even when they seem impossible to find.
Speaking of looking for answers, you mentioned earlier that there's still research going on about Tunguska.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What are scientists hoping to find now? Is there a chance we'll finally solve the mystery for good?
Wouldn't it be incredible if we could finally figure out exactly what caused the explosion?
Yeah.
Like, what if we found a piece of the meteor or some proof that supports the black hole theory?
That would change everything.
It would. But even if we never find that one definitive clue, every bit of information we get brings us closer to understanding.
It's like we're building this huge jigsaw puzzle, right?
Yeah.
And every new discovery is another piece.
And who knows, maybe eventually we'll have enough pieces to see the whole picture.
Maybe a picture we never even imagined. So even after all these years, Tunguska is still full of surprises.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's a story that keeps unfolding. It makes us think about science, history, what it means to be human.
All of it. It's a
Yeah.
really compelling story.
And it makes you think what other mysteries are out there just waiting to be discovered.
Well, countless mysteries, I'm sure. It's kind of humbling to realize how much we still don't know.
Right.
But that's part of what makes science so exciting. It's this constant exploration, this drive to find out more.
And sometimes those discoveries lead to even more questions. Like with Tunguska, the more we learn...
The more questions we have.
Exactly. Which brings us back to something we talked about before.
Oh, yeah.
The whole philosophical side of things. Tunguska makes us think about the limits of what we know.
It does.
It forces us to accept that there are these forces out there in the universe.
Right.
Things we might never fully understand.
Forces that are bigger than us.
Yeah. It's like a reality check from the cosmos.
Yeah.
We're not always in control.
Right.
But at the same time, it shows how creative and resilient humans can be. I mean, just think about how much we've learned about the universe since 1908.
It's pretty remarkable.
We've landed on the moon, sent probes to other planets, built telescopes that can see back to the beginning of time, practically.
It's incredible.
And all because of this deep curiosity, this drive to explore and understand the world, even when it throws something like Tunguska at us.
It's that drive to understand. That's what connects us to the scientists who are still studying Tunguska today, trying to put all the pieces together.
It's that same curiosity, right? That desire to figure out the unknown.
Absolutely. And it shows us that science is never finished. Every new piece of data, every analysis, we're always getting closer to the truth.
Even if we never completely get there.
Exactly.
It really makes you think, what other mysteries are hiding out there in the universe, just waiting for us to find them.
It really puts things in perspective. There's so much we don't know, but that's what makes science so amazing, right?
Yeah.
It's all about exploring, discovering new things.
And those discoveries can lead to even more questions. It's like with Tunguska.
The more we find out, the more we realize we don't know.
Exactly. It's like this never-ending cycle. And it brings us back to that kind of philosophical idea. The one about the limits of our understanding. Tunguska shows us that there are things out there, forces in the universe, that we might never fully wrap our heads around.
Forces that are way beyond our control.
Right. It's like the universe reminding us that we're not always in charge. But it's also pretty inspiring when you think about how far we've come since 1908.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we've landed on the moon, sent probes to other planets, built these incredible telescopes that can look back billions of years.
It's mind-blowing. And it's all because we're curious.
That drive to understand, that's what connects us to those scientists who are still studying Tunguska, trying to solve this puzzle.
Yeah, they're driven by the same things we are. That desire to figure out the unknown.
Exactly. And it shows us that science never really ends. We keep learning. We keep getting closer to the truth.
Even if we never have all the answers. So for everyone listening, for everyone who's taken this deep dive with us into Tunguska, what's the message we want them to take away?
What should people remember?
I think the biggest thing is that there's still so much out there to discover, so many mysteries still to be solved. Tunguska is just one example.
One example of how much we still don't know. About the universe, about our place in it.
It's a good reminder to stay curious, keep asking questions.
Never stop exploring.
And never lose that sense of wonder about the universe and all its mysteries.
So the next time you look up at the night sky, think about Tunguska. Think about how big it was, how mysterious it still is, and all the work people are doing to understand what happened that day back in 1908.
It's a story that's still being told.
And it's a story that reminds us that the search for knowledge is always worth it, even if we don't find all the answers right away.
Absolutely.
It's been great having you here talking about all of this.
It's been my pleasure.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Tunguska event. Keep looking up, keep those questions coming, and never stop being amazed by the world around us. Until next time, this has been The Deep Dive.